Hello and welcome to another video, live stream from the only channel you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. And this week we are going to start off by reading chapter 5 of my new book. And if you're new to the live stream, just know that this ain't going to take long because my chapters are a whole lot shorter than average book chapters, mostly because I'm not doing this kind of like other books. But anyways, we're going to start off by reading 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verses 5 through 14. It may not sound familiar because I'm going to read it in English the way it should be translated. And we're going to cover verses 5 through 14 instead of just reading 14 because the very first words in this reveal what the Scripture's actually about. If you go to a church, they'll read verse 14. They won't tell you who this is being directed at, but I will. The religious leaders of the people are false apostles, masquerading as apostles of Christ in order to deceive. And it is no wonder, for even Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. And you can look at this yourself at 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 5 through 14. Most who live in the Western world are familiar with the first book in the Bible, which is called Genesis. Genesis means beginning. In the beginning, shortly after creating our solar system and all life within it, the Bible records a series of events leading to mankind being forced out of paradise. A wicked being, referred to in multiple verses as a reptile, serpent, or snake, manipulates the first human female into a legal agreement to stop doing the will of the Creator and make her own decisions about the best way to live her life. The deal is sealed by the sharing of a piece of fruit that the Creator had forbidden humans from consuming. Most English Bibles make it appear as if the Creator was withholding vital information from the first human pair which they never would have been aware of had it not been for the timely intervention of Satan. For from being ignorant, the first pair would have known exponentially more than the average person living today. They could have freely traveled anywhere that they desired without planning or packing. They would have intuitively understood everything about their environment. They would have been able to instinctively live off of the land in a way that would not only do no harm, but in fact would have benefited every other living thing that surrounded them. A feat that no man or woman alive today can duplicate. In our day, living by instinct is no longer possible. The enlightenment that Satan imparted to mankind has clouded the thinking of every member of the human family. Not only has Satan's teachings caused mankind to become less knowledgeable, but the little bit of worthless information that Satan imparted to mankind has brought about the extinction of most of what was originally placed here at creation, meaning that most true human food no longer exists anywhere except in the fossil record. At Genesis chapter 3, verses 18 and 19, God prophetically declared that obedience to Satan would bring about what we today call agriculture. Outside of the Bible, every religion is based on the worship of the God of enlightenment. Within the Bible, the God of enlightenment is spoken of as the enemy of the true God. The name that he is most known by is Satan the devil, which translates as enemy and slanderer. We can identify Satan, the God of enlightenment, within the pages of the Bible because it refers to him as such. In several verses at Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 12, Satan is called Halel, which the King James Version translates as Lucifer. Halel is where our English word halo originates. In Western culture, a halo is often depicted in art as a ring hovering above or around the heads of important religious figures, in particular important Bible characters. It is no wonder that Christianity always chooses to mistranslate the word Hallel as words such as Lucifer, morning star, or shining star. Halo is also the word used by the religion of science to describe the rings that exist around planets such as Saturn. Many Bible translators and church leaders say that the morning star spoken of at Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 12 is the planet Venus. However, Venus has no halo. Only 4 of the planets in our solar system have such a feature, Saturn's halo being much more easily observed than the other 3, and Saturn being the only planet spoken of outside of the Bible in any way that would make it a candidate for the role of Hallel, or as the King James Bible says, Lucifer. The linguistic connection that exists between words describing the gods and words describing celestial objects and phenomenon is key to understanding the entire history of religion in general, and in fact the entire history of mankind. And as you are about to discover, much of what is necessary in order to understand the Bible involves understanding that connection. All right, so this week we had a short paragraph or chapter or whatever I end up calling it. I'm thinking about just calling each chapter a thought. But there are a couple of things that have happened since our last live stream that have changed how things are done around here, at least for this week. One of the things we were supposed to mention last week was that I was interviewed by the Watchman News, and I'll make sure that when this is over with, I'll post a link to the video of my interview in the description box of this video. Another thing that's going on with the website this week, which is a really big step, is every now and then somebody will write and say, is there any way I could get transcripts of your videos? And at one time I had all of the transcripts and I lost my hard drive, and that was that. But one of our subscribers, Kitchcool, who may be here, and it's like 1 in the morning where he lives, but he may be participating in the live stream. He has transcribed a few of them, and I'm going through and spell checking everything and just making sure that I still agree with the information in the transcripts. And so you'll be able to find. Oh, are y'all okay? Didn't mean to do that to you. But yeah, if as he gets these up, we'll put them on the website, and they'll be there for all time. And plus, now that he's doing that, you know, at one time I had thought about making a book out of just all of the transcripts, but I gave up when I lost my transcripts. So I may actually start working on that. So it's like every week I'll try to get a new transcript up, and every week I'll try to get a new chapter in this book up, so that I'll be able to eventually release two new books in real close order. So that's going on. Another thing is I made okay, here's how Monday started. Monday I got up and I started going through and spell checking everything on Kitchcool's transcript, and I just decided to take a break because I guess a month ago people kept sending me this stuff saying, hey, as much as you talk about the connection between the celestial objects and stories from the Bible, are you aware that right now we're experiencing this historic event that's about to take place that hasn't taken place in thousands of years? And I checked into it, and it was all it's baseless. There's no reason for any of this stuff. And I thought, well, I'll make a video. So I did. About a month ago, I did a video called September 23rd, Oh My. And I kind of thought it was over with at that point, but I guess I picked up a few other subscribers, and there are people who missed that video. And so still, about twice a week, someone would send me information about this amazing prophecy that was about to be fulfilled. And I thought that it was important that I make a strongly worded video about that, to be a lasting record of the fact that I did not involve myself in any of that nonsense, because this channel, you know, I might live another 15 years, and if that happens, I want to make sure that anytime somebody brings that up, I can direct them back to the video where I stated unequivocally that that stuff is not real and I am no part of it. So I made a video and it went viral. Now it's right now, I just checked it, it's been up for 4 days, probably about 5 days right now, because this is about when I uploaded it. So 5 days, it got 45,000 views. And it's not I've got videos that have like 250,000 views, I think is the biggest one. But that took 5 years. You know, this 45,000 views happened in 5 days. And along with that, there were a lot of comments. And I'm not one of them guys that just ignores the comments, because I'm always worried that I'll overlook somebody that's important that needs to be part of our little family here. So I've been responding, and I think I know there's over 1,000 comments on that video, maybe 500 thumbs up and 200 thumbs down. And so anyway, that's been going on. But we peaked out. I mean, the first 2 days, people were interested in this prophecy. So the people that were watching were actually watching, and the numbers went way, way, way up. And after 2 days, it crashed. But I'm still getting thousands of views. It's just that the people who are leaving the views, they're basically copying and pasting. So they type out some really, really hateful thing about, you're a false prophet, you need to come out and apologize for misleading people, because the title of the video was don't watch this video until September 23rd or something. Don't open until September 23rd. And so a lot of people just automatically, they were going around to every single video on YouTube that had the number 23 in it and leaving these hateful comments. Well, so the peak in my little YouTube watch what's going on your channel just crashed. Even though I'm getting thousands upon thousands of views still, because people are just going there and leaving these bad comments. And that's one of the things I wanted to mention, is that as we're doing this live stream tonight, it's possible that I am dragging in some of those people that are calling me a false prophet. And I just want to make a point of telling everybody that if you see something weird in the comments, just kind of avoid it, because these people, they thrive on attention. And not only that, but it'll just take away from what we're doing here, which is real. So anyway, let me get this out of the way. That's all I got. And what's going on your end, Mr. Ala Toledo?
Well, first of all, with regards to the September 23rd stuff, Matt Wilcox says that he opened the video and watched it, and
not ahead of
did
time.
It before. He did, and he was disappointed that there was no Christmas present inside.
Yeah, I should. Well, I thought about that. How am I going to put? Because some of my subscribers, if I said do not dare open this till September 23rd, they wouldn't have watched it. And the whole point was I was trying to get people to watch it. That's why I put. So I worked on a title for a little while before I finally decided to put it up like that.
Okay, the hellos to start off with. All Pro 9 is the first to chime in with a hey. Simple Sister Living says hi, Ali Toledo and Sustenance. Grandma Patty says hi all. Sleepy Girl 85 says hey ho. Mr. 76 Aspen says hi, Sustenance. Mishu says hello. Maria's Vegetable Garden says good evening. BMW Guy says hello all. Hope all are doing well today. Free Birdification says good evening, Sus. Jake Green's Model Car Shop says hi, Henry. I thought you got raptured.
Oh, that's another thing. I mean, before we even go into the next rest of in case you go back and you're reading some of the comments, when the smart aleck started hitting me, I came up with this really cool thing. And it probably was stupid, but I just started, people was like, oh, it's the 24th and I'm still here. What a surprise. And I was writing back saying, well, should count yourself lucky, because I got raptured into hell and I'm on fire and I can hardly type on this keyboard because it hurts so bad. Plus the internet here is terrible. So, yeah, I wasn't being, what is that, heresy or what is it when you say bad things, religious things? But
blasphemy?
Yeah, I wasn't being blasphemous, but I thought that was cute. So if you see all those comments, don't think I lost my mind or anything.
Next up is Super U68 says hello all. Kitch Cool is here, so he checked in. Says hey guys, I'm up. Hope you all are okay. Marshmallow says hi everybody. BC Truck Rebuild Repair Repurpose says hola. Let's
Hola.
see. Yeah. And next, Synaptic Problem says hi Henry. Um, Uncle Nesta says say Uncle Puff Puff. Pass to whoever will. God bless. Oh boy.
Amen.
Bonnie Blue. Yeah, Bonnie Blue. Let's see. Bonnie Blue
Oh, by the way,
2A.
that just reminded me, so I got to break in and break your train of thought again. A whole lot of the comments I got were, go back to smoking weed or get a job and stop making videos. And so I've been typing to all of them. I don't even use aspirin. So, I mean, I'm too frail to attempt to use drugs. I'll fall over dead or have a stroke or something.
Next up is Bonnie Blue says hello, y'all. Dan Saber says good to be here. And now the questions. So first of all, Chester Richardson says, please pray that all hurricanes will blow themselves out in the North Atlantic. God has ultimate control over everything.
Yeah, a lot of people are looking at, I mean, that's a lot of the support for the September 23rd thing is, you know, if you time it just right and you start predicting the end of the world about the time you have a bunch of earthquakes and hurricanes, you know, that affects people, you know, because they're like, wait a second now, this world is looking really bad, and there's people that 2 weeks ago said it was going to get bad. You know, somebody wrote to me and said, you know, I shared your video with my sister, and she's still scared to death. And so my advice to him was, well, you know, just trust me. In 2 days, your sister's going to be over this. But in the meantime, it would be a good idea to make sure she has no access to sharp objects or firearms. Hopefully, they took my advice.
Let's see. Next up is Don Jones. I guess when you were reading your chapter, he mentioned something about ice rings. He said these are the ice rings.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. If you look at the planets, I always mention Saturn because Saturn's really the only one that I guess there are some amateur astronomers that have $10,000 telescopes. They may be able to see what I'm going to tell you about. But, you know, the way the planets are lined up is this Mercury and Venus, and they're like so close to the sun. And I'm not a practicer of the religion of science, but a lot of what they say makes sense. And I've seen photographs that don't look doctored up. And plus, there are a lot of amateur astronomers that have looked at these things and seem to confirm what we're told, is that the two planets that are closest to the sun are like devoid of water and very toxic. Now the Earth actually has clouds above it that hold water, and we have water that's actually on the ground. Mars, the next one in the line, seems to have an atmosphere, but it's really bad or really thin, and then it's got supposedly water on the ground, but just not very much. But the next four planets out are Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune, and all four of those have ice rings around them. And it looks like they've experienced a catastrophic event similar to what the Earth experienced when the Earth had a protective coating of ice surrounding our atmosphere. It's possible that all of the other planets had that too, because if you were to take and throw the Earth towards the sun, it's just reasonable to think that all the water would boil off and there would be nothing. If you were to throw the Earth farther out, it's reasonable to expect that the clouds might freeze into rings. I hope that's what people are, you know, I'm hoping that's what he was thinking about.
Yep. Douglas Ailiff says hello, by the way. Next question comes from Synaptic Problem. He wants to know, do you consider yourself an end-time prophet?
Here's the deal, is there's two kinds of prophets. Prophets and false prophets. So if I throw myself out there as a prophet, then there's a 99% chance that I'm a false prophet, because in the Bible that's basically how it works. But if I'm just telling you the truth all the time, and if the things I say actually come true, then ta-da! Because that's the break point. You know, the break point is If a prophet tells you something's going to happen and it doesn't happen, they're a false prophet. Don't ever listen to them again. Now, I tell a lot of things that are about to happen in our future, but haven't been proven wrong yet because they're happening into the deep future, maybe even beyond, the extent of my lifespan. But the fact is, here's what I'd really like to do. I'd like to get my videos saturating, well, not just on my channel, not just on a website, not just on Facebook, but I'm hoping that people are downloading my videos and uploading them to their own sites. And then, of course, there's the book. I would really like to get enough stuff out there about the changes that have taken place in our solar system and the changes that are soon to take place in our solar system, so that when the time comes, if anything I say comes true, people can figure out what I am. That sounded profound, didn't it?
You're getting good at this. Gypsy Soul Radio smiles, and let's see, the Learning Homesteaders says, evening, folks. Next question comes from Diana Emmerich. They say, hi. Who is the Anunnaki related to in the Bible?
I don't know. It comes up a lot. It's like there's a lot of things in the Bible. Well, here's the thing: is like the Anunnaki stories. If you go look at some of that, it's the same as the Bible stories. If you look at Egyptian mythology, Egyptian mythology is the same story as the Bible stories. The Sumerian text, the Chinese mythology, all of it tells the same basic story, and even the characters are the same. It's like no matter where you go, any of these stories from anywhere, it always relates to groupings of 12 and groupings of 7s. That's the Bible. I mean, the Bible is always about groupings of 7s and groupings of 12s. The 7s are always like kings and priests, eunuchs, advisors, warriors. There's always these different beings as the 7, and then the 7 always exists within some kind of pattern of 12. There's all these 7s, and yet they were all part of the 12 tribes of Israel. And then before you had the 12 tribes of Israel, you had the 12 families that were the family heads of with Jacob's children. And then when they went out into the wilderness, there were the 12 stones in the breastplate of Aaron, and then you get into the book of Revelation, there's 12 stones in there. And so basically, the reason that we have astrology today is because all religions are earthwide are based on the 12 constellations. Those are the 12 patterns that are like the watch face or the dial on our solar system. And then the 7s are the 7 planets which are traveling within that ecliptic. See, the ecliptic is where the constellations exist. So here's the thing: everybody who loves the Bible will say for a fact that the Bible was written and everybody else copied it. People that hate the Bible will say that the Anunnaki came first and the Bible is a copy of that. Anunnaki, I think, that's like North America, right? That's here, isn't it?
No, I think the Anunnaki are the ones that came from Planet X, and they're here.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They're like the masters.
And then, but if you hate the Bible, you say, well, that came from the Sumerian text comes up a lot. The Bible is just a copy of the Sumerian text. Well, it doesn't really matter who came first. If they're all telling the same story, what's important is the story. And every single ancient myth is based on the worship of what I just read earlier, the God of civilization. The Bible is the only one that's unique in all of that because it's based on the worship of the Creator, and the God of civilization is referred to as the enemy, the Satan, the resistor. And so, if you like warfare, if you think that it's wrong to let people from other countries come into cross our borders and wreck our country, and you think it's wrong to just give money to people that don't work, and if those kind of things affect you emotionally, then you should probably worship the God of civilization because that's what he teaches. But if you feel oppressed by that, then you have the opportunity to worship the God of creation. So you have the Bible or you have all these other ancient mythologies, and it's like take your pick.
Synoptic problem regarding the prophet question says, thanks for answering, Henry. God bless. Next question comes from Trevor Williams. Based on the verse about woe to the masters at drinking wine and mixed drink, does that involve prescription med and alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana? What are your thoughts? I'd like to know.
There's two stories going on in the Bible, and they get mixed up, and that's why Jesus said you had to separate the sheep from the goats. And see, a sheep is not the same species as a goat, and the sheep and the goats represent humanity and angels. Angels obviously the angels are very similar to humans somehow. I haven't ever seen one, not in the flesh, and if they could mate, then they had to be close, because that's what it says back in book of Genesis, that they made it and they produced offspring. Well, there's a lot of stories in there about the angels being condemned for being drunkards, but it says they're drunk off of the blood of human beings. You see, humans, we don't get drunk off of the blood of human beings, but there is that parallel. So perhaps God disapproved of people drinking, because a lot of the verses where it talks about the drunkards could be people. But honestly, that's not an issue, because God knows we're messed up. There's a lot of people can't get through the day without was it crack rock? Is that the big thing now, or there's something else, a zombie drug or something? I mean, it wrecks. They're the ones that are suffering, and sometimes the families suffer, and you got to take that into consideration. And it's all wrong, but it doesn't mean that God's given up on those people. I could tell you that the difference between right and wrong, but everybody knows the difference. I mean, if you've got a choice of whether to inhale smoke or inhale clean air, the obvious choice is to inhale clean air. But I don't think God is going to condemn people for inhaling smoke. I don't inhale smoke. I can't. If I could inhale smoke, I would inhale smoke, but I can't do it. So I'm not trying to be wishy-washy. It's just that here's the thing about the Bible. Every religion on earth pounds it into people from childhood that the Bible is a rule book for how to get to heaven. And so the whole thing is sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? Or yeah, I guess that's it. That's it. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, straight to hell. Hard physical labor, straight to heaven. But if you read the Bible, that's not what it's about. The Bible is about the war between civilization and creation, the war between the righteous angels and the wicked angels, the war between God's kingdom and Satan's empire. When you're listening to Jesus being asked, how should we pray? Jesus said, well, pray for this. Pray for the resurrection of the dead. Pray for food. Pray for love. And pray for God's kingdom to come on earth as it is in heaven. So when you're praying for God's kingdom to come on earth, that means you're praying for Satan's empire to be removed. And you have to understand that when that's coming out of your mouth, that doesn't count. What counts is what's in your heart. Do you want to keep having jobs, an economy, a government, warfare, all of that stuff, or are you willing to give up all of it? You can't just give up part of it. You've got to be willing to walk away from every single part of Satan's empire in order to prove what you are, to prove that you really want God's kingdom. Because when God's kingdom comes, you're not going to be able to hold on to any of this junk.
Grandma Patty makes an interesting note that we all get drunk on spirits. So I guess they call alcohol spirits, whereas angels get drunk on spirits or something.
Well, they call alcohol spirits.
Yeah, why do we call it spirits? Yeah.
Well, maybe it is. Hey, you know what? Look, some people are passionate about this. I'm not. It's just like the homosexual issue. There are people that want me to just come right out and say everybody who's a homosexual is going to be destroyed. I'm not a homosexual, so I don't care. I look at people's sexual activities as their own business, and I don't care what they are. I mean, if your sexual activities include setting somebody on fire and having sex with them, I don't like that. But if two people consent to doing something, it's not my business. It's real, and I can't get passionate about it. I see men, I've been around guys before that a woman that's scantily clad will walk by and they'll be, That's disgusting. And in my mind, I'm like, what? What did I miss something? So I don't know. People get passionate about junk that I can't figure out.
Let's see. Gypsy Soul Radio says the body is a temple, so willingly inhaling is probably bad, but you can pass that doobie this way. And demon alcohol is spirits.
There you go. Okay. Hey, look, I got a prepper supply of, look, hold on a second. Okay, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck or anything. That's one rack. I got 3 of these wine racks, and they're all loaded up, and then I got 2 racks of just hard liquor, because, I'm just one of them guys that's like, if there's anything you can stockpile for money that isn't money, because money's fake, but that's not fake, then I do it. And I guess it's kind of tempting to me. I haven't had it. We already talked about this. I love to drink, especially wine. Just pointing that camera at that thing and seeing it on the screen, it's like, wow, I'd like to have some of that, but I haven't had anything to drink. I don't know. It's probably been 2 months now, huh? I mean, I bragged about it when I first stopped drinking, or at least a few weeks after I stopped drinking. I don't know how long that's been. Doesn't mean I wouldn't drink again, but it's just easier not to drink anything than to have one glass and go, boy, especially after the one glass, you're ready to have a second glass, and you ain't got as much resistance.
Trevor Williams says, thanks for your input for the previous question. Next question is El Bandito Official. What's up, Henry? Love your page, man. I was just wondering if you've had a chance to look into all these flat Earth theory videos. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't go too long on this.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me tell you something. It seems to me, it's like, okay, everybody knows the Catholics are the bad guy, right? And Pope is Satan, and they're causing all the world's problems, and every religion gives their obedience to the Pope. But that's not really true. Religion is just what it is. Every religion is goofy. But for me, the important thing is who's causing me the most harm right now. And as far as I'm concerned, if somebody comes to this channel and listens to my teachings, the Bible's teachings, and they leave a hateful comment, then they're doing Satan's work. And I get the most hateful comments I get are from Flat Earth, a Messianic movement, and there was another one I was thinking about that causes a lot. Oh, what do you call them? Patriots. Patriotism is a religion, Catholicism, Hinduism, anything that ends in ISM is a religion. And those guys are always trying to cause me grief. But I've got several videos about Flat Earth. I was actually going to make it like a 20-part series about Flat Earth, and I just got bored with it. But there's a video that I'll try to put into the description box for whoever's interested, and it's called Disproving Flat Earth by Proving Sphere Earth. It's up there. I think I got a Flat Earth playlist. If you go to my channel, click on playlist, it'll be in there.
Uncle Nestor makes a comment. He says, it's 9:24. He told you so that nothing was going to happen.
He's been watching the comments, because that's like all day. It's like 9:24, sucker. Yeah, well, it's like somebody said, I'm still here. And I said, yeah, me too. And I know they're like, well, wait a second. Aren't you the 9:23 guy? No, I got a video called 9:23. I'm not 9:23. I tell you what, I don't know if she's there. What's the name? Joe Mama. I was looking today, and somebody wrote a comment. It said, all right, you nasty hippie, the end of the world didn't come. Why don't you go get a job? And she wrote under there, it's like, sounds like somebody's mad that the end of the world didn't come and they have to go back to work.
Uncle Nesta just also wants to make it clear that he just says puff puff every time because he gets a chuckle out of you, and he doesn't abuse marijuana that much. And
there ain't no way to abuse it. It abuses you.
Yeah. He wants to know if you've ever watched the YouTube channel Raz Kitchen.
I've seen that. I've seen that. People send me stuff like that all the time. I think I've seen that. I may not have, but it's like Rastafarian Kitchen. It's not there. It's where you don't have to smoke. You can eat. If he disagrees,
Can,
pass it on if he says, no, that ain't right. But I think that's what it is.
yeah. Liam Thompson continues with the joke about Rip, we're dead. And
Yeah.
a follow up on the alcoholism question earlier. Super U68 wants to know is alcohol a religion? Is alcoholism a religion?
Oh, now that's slick. I got caught. I got to go backtrack a bit. We'll edit that out so I don't look so dumb.
Good luck.
Alcoholism, yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? You know what a religion is? Just think about it for a second. What is a religion? Because in the Bible it talks about God says that the only kind of religion that He approves is taking care of orphans and widows in their tribulation and being no part of civilization. See? So that's not an officially recognized religion, but it is a way of life. People that do that, that's their way of life. And a person who's a Catholic may consider Catholicism their way of life. And so alcoholism is, for some people, a way of life, right? It's a religion, yeah, I guess so.
Next question has developed some conversation in the chat. It comes from Synoptic Problem. What zodiac sign do you think Jesus was? Does it make a difference? And Matt Wilcox chimes in, Virgo. Like me, he was born in September. Flora Bandito says Pisces probably. Gypsy Soul Radio says Libra, September 29th. If Shepherd's Chapel is right, I don't know.
Oh, you want to hear that? This is, I know, once again, try to keep it short, Sustin. Okay, I'll do that. I'll try to keep it short. Okay, around our planet, or around our solar system, is what's called the universe, which is trillions of stars in every direction. But since the planets are all like moving in rings on a plane, they're in what's called the ecliptic. So we don't astrology doesn't concern itself with Draco and Andromeda. It concerns itself with like the ones they're talking about now, Virgo. So you have Virgo, and there's Taurus and Aries and all of that. Well, if you look at the verses concerning Babylon the Great, where people were in Babylon, they were building this tower, and their language got confused. It seems to me that something happened in our solar system that it went along with that. Like there was some kind of catastrophic event that was bigger than just what happened in Babylon. All languages earthwide are different. They're different, and you can't go to another country and just start speaking to people. You have to learn the language. But all languages, or at least all written languages, seem to be based on the stars in the ecliptic. So if you look at the Taurus, the bull, there's 12 stars in the ecliptic. Well, in the Greek language, there are 24 letters in the alphabet. But if you go back and you look at the ecliptic, like Taurus and then the first half of Taurus, the second half of Taurus, the first half of whatever's next. I think it's like after Taurus comes Gemini, and then the second half of Gemini, and then you got what comes next. But if you start at Taurus, which is A, and you work your way all the way around, you get to Omega. So that's why in the book of Revelation, God says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, because He's the entire alphabet. Alpha is the first letter in the Greek alphabet. Omega is the last letter, all the way around. But Omega is just Aries. That's the one that comes right at the end. It seems to me that when God told Adam and Eve that all these bad things are going to happen to you, and then later it's revealed to us in the New Testament that there would be a 6,000-year time cycle before Christ began to rule, that somehow that's related to this cycle of constellations going around the earth. But it depends on where you start the constellations at, because on the other side of the ecliptic is the lion being Leo. And so Jesus was called Leo the lion, and Satan was called Leo the lion. Well, they aren't called Leo. Leo just is the word for lion. But lion, or Laish, lion. So it's possible that this thing that we're living through, this time period, is to start with, and the constellations start with the moon. The moon's on that side of the earth, the sun's on that side of the earth. So the lion would be over here, when those other constellations are over there. So it may be that referring to Satan as a lion and referring to Jesus as a lion is about that time cycle of the ecliptic, because they got a thing, it's called the progression of the equinoxes. And it's somehow scientists figure that the solar system, our solar system, is rotating within our universe. And so that ecliptic is going to make a complete revolution every so long. I think it's 6,000 years, because I think that's the time period from getting to Satan's rulership to Jesus' rulership, and it's determined by the position of the sun in Leo. And I'm not into astrology, so that's probably, who knows if that's true or not. Plus, there's a whole lot of other verses in the Bible that seem to be references to the ecliptic, the constellations.
Grandma Patty chimes in about the alcoholism and everything. She says that AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is a religion.
Oh yeah, it is. They're like, okay, we're gonna, what is it, like 12 steps or 9 steps, or it's related to numerology, and you know the steps are like, I don't know, what did my counselor say? Actually, I'm not alcoholic. I've never been to AA, but you know, if you're a human being on earth, somebody in your family's been there, and you've somehow gotten tied up with that. But it's like the first step is admitting it, and the second, and so that's all. And they do pray. They start every meeting with a prayer, and it's like, give me this understanding to know that I'm a drunk, and give me the strength to stop being a drunk, or something like that.
Yeah, let's see. Next is from BMW guy. He was commenting about the marijuana and all of that stuff. He says he doesn't really care for smoking, but he likes the edibles because the cannabis helps with his severe neuropathy pain.
Hey, I've heard that from a lot of people, and I've got neuropathy pain, and I mean, I've tried it a few times, and at the time I wasn't paying attention to that. I was just trying to get zonked, you know. Because I want to see what is the immediate effect of this, and it was just so harsh on me, and plus, you know, the cops, every time they see me they want to punch me, so there's no reason for me to have something on me to get me in trouble, even in my blood. I don't need it in my blood, so I don't do it. But I mean, there may come a day when it's legal and it's cheap, but it's usually that doesn't go along. So the people I know who live where it's legal, it's like, I don't know, $100 for a thing this big. It don't sound like something I can do, you know. I like buying junk. I can't buy junk if I'm setting my money on fire.
Next question comes from Gypsy Soul Radio. They ask, why do space agencies name their stuff like they do? For example, the Trumpet satellite, also known as Jeroboam, first king of the northern Israel, Atlas, the Atlas V rocket, etc., those things. Maybe because a rocket named Mike isn't that cool?
It's all, I mean, if you look at the entire NASA, what did we just say a minute ago about how that everything in the Bible is seven planets, and their position within the 12, the ecliptic, and the passage of time, you know, that entire 12, you know, and I got to go back to the Greek alphabet again. In the Bible book of Revelation, it talks about the elders around God's throne, and those elders are the ecliptic, but it calls them 24 elders. It doesn't call them 12. See, and that's the alphabet, alpha, beta, gamma, all the way around to omega. That's 24. So these are your 24 elders, but it's also the 24 months of the year, because the northern hemisphere experiences winter 6 months out from the southern hemisphere. And in the Bible, God told the Jews that if they were going to perform all these silly rituals, that they had to perform them in a cycle of 12s, but they had to acknowledge them in a cycle of 24. So they were given the Jews call it a secular calendar and a religious calendar. That isn't true. He gave them a southern hemisphere calendar and a northern hemisphere calendar. So that adds up to 24 months. And well, anyway, back to the question. The 7 planets are in the ecliptic. The 12 constellations are the ecliptic. On northern and southern hemisphere, it's a 24 in the ecliptic. And everything in NASA has to do with 7s, 12s, and 24s. And it's not just the American Space Agency. If you go back and look at the Mercury program, their symbol for Mercury was like a 7, some kind of a stylized 7. Then when Apollo came along, Apollo has, it looks like a lightning bolt. It's not a lightning bolt. Look at it. It's a 7. You know, the stuff they're doing now with the space shuttle, everything, every single patch has a 7 hidden in it. Straight right side up, upside down. Somehow there's 7 stars. There's always 7s in there. And that's in reference to all of these religions around the world that are based on the 7s and the 12s. And so the names are the same thing too, like this, you know, Saturn V rocket. Well, if you go look at that, that's Kayun in the Bible. When God told the Jews that their Sabbaths disgusted him, you know, what's a Sabbath? The Sabbath is the 7th day of the week. God said, your rituals are no more than Saturn worship. You know, Saturn 7, and you know what are some of the other Atlas rocket? Who was Atlas? That's a guy that carried the planet on his shoulder, right? It's all mythology, you know, all that stuff. Apollo in the book of Revelation, where it says the destroying angel. If you look that up, that's not destroying angel. It says Apollyon, which is where we get our word Apollo. You know, the god Apollo, Satan, and Apollo is Saturn. I mean, that's the ancient word for that. Bet you didn't know that, did you, Alec Toledo?
Teach me something new every day. Next comes from Synoptic Problem. Should I witness to Jehovah's Witnesses when they come to my door?
You got plenty of time and nothing to do and don't care if you have any results. You know, it's like, why is in the Bible it makes it very clear that it's not our problem. You know, if the Bible says the sick don't need or the healthy don't need a doctor. You know, they're healthy. They're completely full. They have all of their spiritual needs met, and they absolutely do not need somebody to come along and try to help them out. And you know, it seems to me that we're all told that that's our project in life is to make sure the word gets to everybody. Well, the word is to everybody. Every human being on this earth wakes up knowing what's bad and what's good. They know what they're supposed to do and what they ain't supposed to do. It just takes time and training to get people to switch bad for good and good for bad. And I mean, you see what I'm doing. I'm not making excuses. I do this because I can't not do it. I wake up every day. This is all I think about. It's all I do. It's all I've been thinking about and doing all my life. I've taken a lot of beatings for it. And I mean physical beatings. I've been treated terrible just for being a nice guy and telling people what is right and wrong. And I mean, it's not something I couldn't do. So if you want to do this, what I'm doing, do it. I'm not telling you not to, but we're not under obligation to save the world. If you look at the people who were told that they were under obligation, who was it? It was like the 12 apostles were told they were under obligation when they were sent out. And then Ezekiel was told he was under obligation. And I think he told Ezekiel, says, look, if you go out there and you warn somebody that's bad, and they go ahead and keep on being bad and they're destroyed, that's okay, because you won't be destroyed. But if you fail to warn the ones I send you to, then they'll be destroyed and you'll be destroyed too. But that was specific instructions for, I think it was Ezekiel. And in every one of those instances, it's like priests and preachers who want to get more worshipers for their church will tell you that's your duty. But hey, you know, don't be. There's also the scripture about throwing your pearls before swine, right? So it's up to you to make that decision. Am I throwing pearls to swine, or am I throwing pearls to pearl collectors? That was
Next
a good
question
one.
comes.
And I did. That was good.
Yeah. Pat yourself on the back. Next one comes from Trevor Williams. I often hear you say the Bible is basically a book of history of good and evil, God and Satan, but surely there are healing in the scriptures. A good word is cheerful to the heart.
Hey, you know what? It's amazing to me. I mean, there's books of mythology and religion all over the planet. And I've read most of them, and I don't really get much out of. I mean, I get learning out of them, but when I read the Bible, I get hope. That's the whole thing. The Bible was given to mankind. It isn't just a tech manual or something. We're not supposed to just read it and go, oh, okay, it's been 3,000 years since the flood or something. When we read it, we're supposed to, like, thank God. Thank God that He still is thinking about us, that He did all of these things and He had them put into writing, and he made the book that he put him in like $1.99 at Goodwill. You know, what a wonderful God we have that this is available to us. You know, that's and especially now that we're nearing the end, you know, I mean, for thousands of years these people could be told all about the wonderful things that awaited them after the resurrection, but they never got this stuff. We're getting it now because there's a possibility we won't have to be resurrected. And I think what's really important for everybody out there to understand is that I think about this stuff all the time, and I really believe I'm going to be there, and I'm sick, and I'm old. So you think about it, that's how close we are. I really, if my faith can hold up your faith, just know that I believe I am going to see Christ return in the flesh before I die. That means it's got to come pretty daggum quick. So.
Nuclear War says hello, saying good day. Next question comes from Cass Adapts. What do you think of the distraction of the NFL and President Trump? And in case you don't know about it, there's a lot of players that are not standing for the national anthem.
Yeah, I think. Well, you know, I watch. I don't watch the networks, but there's like 4 or 5 different places that put videos up, little 1-minute clips, because I think rather than listen to somebody tell me what's in the clip, I like just watching the clip. So I saw like a bunch of little kids kneeling, and there was a paragraph under it said, "This evil little league coach is brainwashing his children into hating America," or something like that. What a distraction! What a waste of time! You know. Oh, if we just bend this thing this way, the economy will recover. You know, if we just put up a wall over here, you know, if we just can hire up a new spokesmodel for the elite, you know, he can threaten the king of Punjab. You know, there's always like some bad guy, and in the past it was like the Imperial Japanese Navy or, you know, France. It was the big guns, and now it's like, yes, there's bad guys waiting to conquer the planet. Where are they? North Korea. Wait a second. Have they got indoor plumbing yet? Because that's the first step. Once they get indoor plumbing, then you start worrying about them. Up until then, you know, they're not a real threat. Do they have transportation? You know, do they have like any guns or anything? And so certainly now we're saying, oh, guns? Are you kidding? They've got weapons of mass destruction. You know, this is serious. It's like every time somebody needs to be exterminated, you accuse them of having weapons of mass destruction, and yet the people who do have weapons of mass destruction are the good guys.
Next question comes from Synoptic Problem. He says, I have a good friend that says he is one of the 2 witnesses in Revelation 11. What do you think of his assertion? Followed by, the Learning Homesteader says, no one knows who the 2 witnesses are. Someone's drinking goofy water. And then Marshmallow chimes in saying, is it possible that our eyes are the 2 witnesses?
First I need to know, is your friend the sun or is he the moon? Because those are the 2 witnesses. I mean, if you go to the book of Psalms, there's a verse that says God's 2 witnesses are the sun and the moon, his faithful witnesses who have never veered from their course. And if you go back prior to that, you see there was Saturn, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, Mercury, Venus, and they were flung into outer space. You know, and it's like right after God, it says, my God is changing times and seasons, and then shortly after that, the Psalm says, but the sun and the moon are my 2 faithful witnesses. And then when you get to the book of Revelation, it says that it opens up with this vision of 2 candlesticks, or 2 oil lamps is what it is, connected with some kind of connection to 2 olive trees. See, that's where oil lamps get their oil, is from olive oil. So if you've got 2 trees that are constantly producing olives, and they're connected to 2 oil lamps, those are 2 lamps that never go out. And when you get to the verses about the 2 faithful witnesses being killed on the broad way for 3 days and then resurrected, you remember it talks about the sun not giving its light and the moon not giving its light. And that happens in conjunction with these 2 witnesses being killed, and it says very clearly, I mean, it's in the verse in Revelation, if you look at it, it says, like as a side note, but it's there and it's in the original Greek. It says, "My two faithful witnesses are the two lamps, the two oil lamps that I already told you about." So we're talking about everlasting lights. You know, in the very beginning, Genesis, it says that God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule over the day, the lesser light to rule over the night. So they're called lights. The word used is light, like the same kind of word that's used for oil lamp. Same exact word. The light. If you read about oil lamps, it's the same word. It's used for the planets. And so you get to Revelation, it calls them two lamps and two faithful witnesses. Now, will there be two actual physical humans that are the two faithful witnesses? I don't know. It seems to me, that old concept of as above, so below. It seems like throughout history, every time something has happened in the stars or in the planets, something substantial happened on the earth.
He follows up, a synoptic problem follows up and says his friend who said this was a messianic believer.
Well, check. He might be a flat earther too, and a patriot. Those are the most dangerous. If it's a patriot and a messianic and a flat earther, they're going to tear my channel to shreds. At least they're going to operate in some kind of nefarious way to distract my subscribers.
Next question comes from Diana Emmerich. She says, I read somewhere that Adam had a brother whom was not accepted to walk the earth, but takes lives in the afterlife. What is your opinion?
Sounds to me, like I said, every religion on earth is based on the same story. And, I've said before that Satan was Jesus' brother. They were both there at the creation. You can read verses about Jesus being there at creation, and you can read verses about Satan being there at creation. And so the stories from everywhere, there's always a good brother and a bad brother. Even in the constellations, you've got Gemini, the twins, is what are the names of those guys? Phlox and something. But I did a video a while back called The Two Brothers. It's possible that Adam's brother would have been considered Satan, because remember, it was Adam that was supposed to reproduce offspring with Eve. And then it turned out that, as it says, that Satan came back with all of his friends and they had sex with whatever human females they wished. And the result of that being half human, half angel hybrids called Nephilim, who are the mighty men of old. They're the mighty warriors, the mighty rulers of the earth in those days. So, I'm not going to tell you that anything in mythology is a lie, because it isn't a lie. It's just maybe inaccurate, or maybe like a lot of these stories, like Marvel Comics, Superman. Superman is Zeus, and that's why Zeus always presented himself as like this super warrior. The super warrior, actually Superman is actually Hercules. Because Superman's got like a mother that's a normal human, but then he had a father that was a god or an alien. And so that's the same story that's told in ancient mythology. There's always these heroes. Mars is half human, half angel, so it's possible that... I know I'm getting off track, but that's what all mythology always kind of exaggerates the superpowers of the characters involved. It'd be kind of interesting to actually see, Satan in the flesh. Does he get gas? Yes. Or can he leap over tall buildings?
Going back to the idea of two witnesses, Grandma Patty says, our two sides of our brains can be witnesses of our thoughts and actions.
Well, here's another thing, is like Elijah and Moses, right? That's what a lot of people say, and I like to tell them, look, I don't know. I don't know, because like I say, when the sun and the moon are up there, and like you say, your two eyes, because that's scriptural. Isn't that Marshmallow? Didn't Marshmallow say it was two eyes? Because you've got the Eye of Ra, right? That's the Eye of Ra that was on the pyramids, on our dollar bills. And then you've got the eye Jesus talked about. It says, keep your eye simple and singular. It's like, why would Jesus use a singular word for eye? And why is it that Egyptian mythology uses the singular eye? and one's a left eye and one's a right eye. So yeah, it's possible. Two halves of your brain, yeah, it's possible. Left hand, right hand, or like in politics, right? Left wing, right wing. What does Usamas say? The bird is still in the middle. What difference does it make? It's not the wing that's important. It's the bird.
The Watchman News chimes in, says, "Wait a minute, I'm still here. I thought I'd be raptured." Laugh out loud. So he came in. Nuclear War says, "Good job, young man. It was a good breakdown of superheroes." So he liked your superhero discussion.
Yeah, I think one of the chapters, earliest chapters in the book, I said that most of our popular culture is based on Bible stories.
Next question comes from Simple Sister Living. Why would God give Jews a southern hemisphere calendar? And how does having northern and southern calendars equal 24 if they are running at the same time?
It's just like symbolic. You've got winter down there. Because if you look at the Jewish calendar, you got first month, and the Bible very specifically says, first month, second month, third month, and it gives a list of things that the people in the northern hemisphere had to do. So they had a date for harvest, and then they had a certain festival, and they had a date for planting, and it had a certain festival associated with that. Well, if those laws given to the Jews were to be recognized earthwide, then you would have to have a completely separate list of rituals for the southern hemisphere than you do in the northern hemisphere. It would not make sense to have the Passover festival or the Feast of Trumpet festival or any of these festivals which are associated with the natural cycles of the earth, planting and harvesting. And so it would have to be separate with a complete separate list of months. When they came out of Babylon, they didn't call them first month, second month, third month, fourth month. They were called planting month, harvesting month. And actually the names, when they came back, this is another thing. When they came back from their Babylonian conquest, the calendar no longer worked anymore. So they came back with all of these months that were never recorded in the Bible before that, and all of the months are based on Babylonian words. Like I think if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you remember that the Lord's evening meal took place on Nisan 14. That's scriptural. Well, Nisan is a Babylonian word, but all of those words were associated with the 12 constellations, right? Because each one is the name of a god. Each of the gods is associated with one of the constellations, and each of those gods was associated with planting and harvesting and, fertility and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you got 24. There's no way to keep them separate. I mean, in our culture, if it's May right here, it's May everywhere. But the reality is, if you're going by the biblical calendar, it can't be May everywhere, because what May means, or whatever Nisan means, it doesn't mean the same thing on the other side of the earth. It doesn't work. Too bad we don't have real-time interaction, because I'd like to see the expressions on people's face or hear them commenting and all. And I know we got like a 30-second lapse or something before that happens.
Discord 42 says, "Howdy sus, first time I ever caught your live stream live."
I've been there all the time, whether they're there live or not. I know who that is.
Angela Forrester says, "Did anyone see the moon like a week ago? Was rising shortly before sunrise, and it was amazing. Never saw it like that before." You see the moon a lot.
Yeah, well, I don't ever go out and look at it anymore, because it's like, and my wife came in and said, "You got to come see the moon." I said, "Why?" "Because it's really bright." I said, "Okay, I've seen the moon really bright, and I'm sleepy. Leave me alone." But I mean, she's not the only one that saw it. Sometimes the moon just happens to be at the right angle, and everything is just right, and it is pretty spectacular.
Next question comes from Austin Van Meter Visuals. What do you think about palmistry and the study of John Dee?
I don't know what John Dee is, but I do know that I've never seen any. I don't know how palm readers work, because I'm going to tell you this, that a lot of the stuff that these charlatans do is real. It's not really charlatan, it's just real. But I don't know that, when someone takes your hand and they hold it, there's a spiritual connection between you and that other person. It's like if you hug them or anything. And so they're looking at your hand and they're saying, "Oh, I see this and that." And then maybe they're not seeing anything in your hand. Maybe it's just from holding you or holding your hand that they're seeing something. But who knows? I'm not one of these people like, church people will tell you, don't engage in palmistry, don't engage in astrology, don't. And if you're Catholic, they'll tell you don't go to the Baptist church. If you're a Jehovah's Witness, they tell you not to go to any church. The reality is, it's all religion. Don't go to any of it. The truth is in the Bible. If you want to find out a little bit more, you can go to other stories. You can go check out churches. I was talking to Usamos the other day, and I said, man, you need to start going to the Kingdom Hall. Just do it a few times just to see what it's like, because he's always asking me questions. And he goes, man, you think I should do that? I said, it's just entertainment. I mean, it's not like if I thought for a minute that you would stop studying the Bible and start reading Watchtowers, then I wouldn't suggest it. But, we've got brains. We're normal people. And if you're in a family that does all kinds of religious stuff, it's not like, what I'm going to tell you to stand up against your family. I go over to my mama's house. If she's all by herself on a holiday, I go to my mama's house. I don't celebrate holidays, by the way, but just...
Last question, and then you can wrap it up. Comes from Angela Forster. Hope it's the end already. Hope it's the end. Ready to get out of this hell on earth. My husband has let the evil of this world get the best of him. Amen. And then take us out, please.
Okay. Well, thank you, Angela. And as always, I'm very, very happy that I'm able to do this. I think probably because of my most recent video, we're probably going to get more people added to our little group, I hope. And I'll check that in the numbers when I get done, if I can. And we went over chapter 5. Next week we'll go over chapter 6. And hopefully nothing really strange will happen and we can get back on track. I can get a few documents on the website. And as always, if you do not wish to survive, don't listen to me.